Hi everyone, welcome back, or if you are just tuning in now, welcome. After a first session this morning about the EOS platform for providers, we're now moving on to what EOS can do for businesses and how we can work together with businesses. So during the coming hour, we have Sai Hollinger, who's a strategy and innovation lead at the EGI Foundation, and Marcin Plocznik, head of the Internet of Things Systems Department at the Poznan Supercomputing and Networking Center, who are going to talk to you about EOSC Digital Innovation Hub and specifically the business pilots that we're organizing through the Innovation Hub. So, Sai, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much. And also thank you to everybody who has joined and showing your kind of interest in the EOSC Digital Innovation Hub. So as Catherine said, my name is Sai Hollinger. I work at the EGI Foundation, but my role within this context is I've been serving as the EOSC Digital Innovation Hub coordinator for the last 3 or 4 years now, and within inside of EOSC Future, be the task lead where this Digital Innovation Hub is funded. So I'm going to spend a few minutes. We kind of broke up the session into 3 parts. So I'll give a little bit of an introduction to the Digital Innovation Hub, our plans, some of the results to date, and some ongoing activities in which we think is of interest to this audience. And then I'll pass over to Marcin Plocznik, who has been the coordinator specifically of the individual business pilots and kind of managing the full life cycle. So I'll pass over to him, who can provide a little bit more details around that topic. So just to spend a few minutes, for those who potentially may be new to the concept of digital innovation hubs, this wasn't a term that was invented by us, but part of a wider European Commission initiative for articulating public and private partnerships and really what digital innovation hubs should provide. And each digital innovation hub should kind of cover these kind of 4 main areas, which is this kind of test before you invest concept, which basically means pre-commercial support with services, but not only the provision of technical services, but also offering skills and training as well. So there's a wealth of knowledge across the academic and research space, and to make this available to SMEs and startups, as well as trying to help them to get support for funding and investment. So this doesn't necessarily have to be limited to within the Digital Innovation Hub, but actually providing some information and opportunities that's across the European Commission funding platform and other areas in which they could tap into as well. And then bringing them into the kind of wider ecosystem for networking opportunities to kind of expand opportunities as well. And this is one of the kind of the values that this kind of international and European-wide collaborations can provide, this kind of increased visibility. So essentially digital innovation hubs are kind of these joint partnerships between private and public organizations to kind of stimulate innovation. So it's a community offering added value in addition to the technical services. So it's really trying to develop a community around the services themselves. So the EOSC Digital Innovation Hub was initially created and established via our predecessor project called EOSC Future, or EOSC Hub, which we want to implement a sustainable structure that could live beyond the life of the project. So we set up, let's say, our service offering. We publish stuff in a persistent website that can be joined. We have dedicated publications for the success stories of the pilots that have been run, and then trying to run some kind of social media as an augment to it. So EOSC Future provides us with the opportunity to kind of like take what we built in EOSC Hub and kind of solidify it and expand it moving forward. So industry can play a number of different roles within inside of the European Open Science Cloud. So it doesn't necessarily need to be contained in one single area. So commercial companies could be customers. So just basically making use of the existing EOS services. They could be providers, so offering their services into the EOS marketplace where that makes sense. But really, a lot of the opportunity is going to be in this kind of joint development activities. So partnering together with us to use the services and create something new, as well as the procurement framework. So they can join, there's a dedicated task called 8.1, which is dedicated to the procurement of commercial services, to add their services to those lists. Or also we will be running some purchasing of services for the benefit of the EOSC, in which the industry can play a role there as well. But it's not, doesn't only have to be the value for them. There's definitely some value for the EOSC as well in terms of working with private industry. So around, a lot of it can be around, let's say, knowledge and expertise. So learning from the private enterprises, but as well as I said, there's a wealth of knowledge in the academic and research world, so we can share that together with industry as well. Looking at the services, we have an opportunity to kind of improve our own technical services. So there's one thing that I always say is that if you ever want to see some areas of improvement for your services, get a commercial company to try to use it. It's one of the greatest ways to get feedback into the usability of the services, potential new functionality of the services. And then there's also in the policy world, there's a lot of EC initiatives around that are supporting startups and SMEs. So kind of participating in a digital innovation hub could also open up opportunities in other areas. And in fact, it is part of the EOSC mission, which is to serve innovators and companies. And ultimately, we can kind of use this to demonstrate the value of our services through the usefulness of the uptake within commercial entities. And also with partnering with them, sometimes we can get, I don't know, free licenses or discounts on the usage of those services. It expands our own user base for some of the services that we have as well. And then for those of you that are interested in that kind, it's definitely not applicable to everybody, but you can kind of get into some commercial partnerships beyond the life of whatever joint innovation action moves forward for revenue generation. So specifically inside of EOSC Future project and what the Digital Innovation Hub will be looking to do. So our mission is the same. It is to stimulate this joint innovation with private enterprises, leveraging the EOSC services, data, and expertise. Our target group is mainly startups and SMEs, even though we're not limited to them. We can work with large enterprises, but we found that startups and SMEs gain the most value out of what we're offering. Work together. There's going to be a number of EOSC support or regional projects. The Infra EOSC 07 projects is like one of the big chunk of collaborations that we've been working with, because they'll be providing services that the companies would be requesting, but then also working with multiplier networks, because we won't be able to reach out to everybody individually. So by partnering with multiplier networks, this helps us scale out our community. And there is a network of national and regional digital innovation hubs that are being supported across Europe, so within individual countries. So we'll be looking to set up what we're called corridors together with them to kind of provide an augmented value or service delivery. So really through EOSC Future, we just want to kind of continue the operation and expand it, so scale out. Martin will go in through the individual business pilots, so managing the full life cycle of those. We do have an external budget to try to identify services and solutions that are needed by the EOSC, which could be developed by industry. So basically pay industry in order to provide services or a solution for the use of within EOSC. Mature out, I think this is something that we're picking up where we left off from EOSC Hub, which is to try to have more, let's say, mature or refined impact monitoring and metrics for both the individual pilots that are running, as well as the Digital Innovation Hub itself. Do these kind of national corridor connections. So we'll be interested if anybody that's in the audience today or involved in national or regional digital innovation hubs to reach out to us, as well as serving as kind of this industry engagement channel for other EC projects. So we already have, let's say, the support structures in place. So what we found is that for individual EC projects that don't have to, let's say, reinvent or duplicate the effort could rely on the Eos Digital Innovation Hub to support their industry engagement activities, and they can basically be either knowledge experts or individual service providers to them. And we have a couple of examples of those as well. So here is just an overview of the individual partners that are formally part of Task 8.2 inside of EOSC Future, which is also quite nice as an evolution from the EOSC Hub project, where we have more formal participation within it. So we have representatives from the major infrastructure and service providers, as well as experts in SME and startup outreach, such as JMP and Technopolis. So what we've kind of been doing so far is that we have published our strategy and plan, which was a formal deliverable inside of EOSC Future called 8.4. Been running regular work, bi-weekly task meetings. We've been publishing all of our information inside of a Confluence space. We do have a Slack working space that we had set up previously that is kind of open. So what we'll do is we use this Slack space for general community management. So anybody who wants to join the EOS community, Digital Innovation Hub community, can join our Slack space for regular engagement. But then we also have dedicated like private folders for managing the individual pilots. And we also have one dedicated just purely for EOSC Future to deal with project activity space. And then in addition to internal stuff, we run wider, let's say, community meetings every 3 weeks. This is like the wider partnerships where we have the collaboration agreements, those partners join. We also have the individual pilots that are running to provide us with individual updates and even potential new contacts that are trying to maybe learn from the others. We literally try to establish this community feeling. Inside of the project, of course, we would need to coordinate with a number of other different work packages. So we do have external budget, as I mentioned, for the potential purchasing of services. So this is in coordination with a grant committee within Work Package 1. Work Package 5, we want to make sure that like the Digital Innovation Hub is part of the overall EOSC port, the EOSC platform and the portal, and that an inclusion in that whole onboarding procedure, as well as the service management system that's being set up to manage the entire service management lifecycle from service portfolio management to incident and service request management. And then 8.1, there's a little bit of an overlap with procurement activities. I'll go into detail about that in a second. And then Work Package 10, which is the dissemination and communication, which has been a great help. As though we're focused on the industry outreach, we're still part of the overall project and EOSC landscape. So they've been providing a lot of support in our dissemination and communication. Collaboration, specifically with the EOSC 07 project, we have collaboration with the all of the EOSC 07 projects, because they'll be the ones providing the individual services that the companies will be needing. As well as we started to kind of have a few agreements with some of the multipliers that I mentioned. For an example, leadership for SMEs, EU Hubs for Data, which is setting up a federation of digital innovation hubs, as well as BDVA in the area of big data value. We also started to, we're still only at the beginning of setting up these kind of regional digital innovation hubs. So we have one with Aragon, the DIH in Spain, HPC for Poland, which is the digital innovation hub in Poland. And then some other support projects. For an example, the DIH project was a coordination and support action for coordinating the activities of DIHs across Europe. And as well as NRIC, which was a project to set up or identify individual industry representatives inside of organizations who can serve as contact points for that. And then we'll be focusing on event participation. For sure, there's been some limited opportunities here given the current situation, but we have attended a number of events. We hope that in 2022, this ramps up. So there's kind of this two streams of activities that we're doing inside of it. So one is the business pilots, where we have this kind of mutual value exchange. It's not direct funding, but what we're doing is providing individual services and expertise for this kind of joint innovation actions. So the technical service, expertise, and support promote their results so that they get visibility for what they would do. So we will be running, let's say, periodic campaigns. So we're always open for new potential business pilots, so we can be individually contacted. It doesn't necessarily need to be only through these campaigns, but in order to not be a passive activity and just kind of waiting for people to have individual contacts, which is we kind of run these kind of joint periodic promotion campaigns to accept applications, review them, and then select the ones that we would like to move forward with. Another string of activity is what we call purchasing of services. So the financial instrument is Article 10 for those who have some administration information, but here it's more for the value of the EOSC. So what services, solutions, and data is not currently available, but could be developed by industry for the use and benefit of the EOSC. So we'll be running a number of activities to try to collect and articulate requirements from the EOSC. But for an example, we have a survey that's open right now in coordination with Task 8.1 to try to collect some of these kind of initial requirements. And then whenever we have something that is articulated and ready to go, we would publish this in the EOSC funding platform, or the grants platform is what it's called now, the grants platform, so that it is articulated. We collect the offers and we select them, we evaluate them, select them, and move forward. So we will publish that as soon as things are ready, most likely in Q1 and Q2 of 2022. So I'm not going to go into much detail because I'm going to pass this over to Marcin, but we do have 4 business pilots that are currently running right now through the Digital Innovation Hub, and this has come through a number of different channels. So for an example, we got one that just came from one of the partners in 8.1 who had a contact with a commercial company, had discussions with them, doing interesting things. One came to us from EGI ACE, and I think this is an example in where an EOSC 07 project basically said, okay, we have a commercial contact, let's just let the EOSC Digital Innovation Hub run the full life cycle, and they'll just basically serve as the service provider. Another one was an evolution from a previous pilot during EOS Hub. They concluded their initial activity but wanted to continue to work with us. So we kind of reworked the overall work plan and come up with a new work plan with new objectives and new potential results. And another one was just a partnership that we had, a sort of collaboration agreement that we were kind of exploring opportunities. And then we managed to come up with, like, let's say, a concrete action plan, and that turned into a pilot from a partnership. But like I said, we'll go into more detail like that from Marcin. One new activity that we have in EOSC Future, which was kind of always a moving target during EOSC Hub, was there was no real common approach to impact assessment across the Digital Innovation Hub landscape, available metrics, etc. So at the end of the project, there was a real no community consensus about how do you measure the Digital Innovation Hub impact. So of course, we have metrics for managing and monitoring the project itself, but we needed wider impact metrics for the individual business pilots, the companies that will either be running pilots or doing the purchasing of services in the Digital Innovation Hub itself. So here's the last 2 bits I want to mention. This is the commercial services survey is open. It should be closing this week. So this is kind of last opportunity to provide your feedback to the gaps of the current EOSC portfolio of commercial services. And one of the sections will be about also data sets as well, including those that potentially could be an opportunity for the Digital Innovation Hub to identify.
Amen.
The other one is we have launched this kind of expressions of interest, this promotional campaign to try to entice and attract business pilots. This is open right now. So if you have any if you are an SME yourself, or if you have a network of contacts that you could share this with for us, this would be great because we're trying to attract as many interesting applications as possible. The deadline for applicants is 3 December. However, we will have a webinar this Thursday, the 25th at 2 o'clock, where we'll go into a little bit more detail about the expressions of interest itself and offer any opportunities for questions and answers for those who are potentially interested in submitting an application. So just to kind of summarize here, we have our strategy and our plans defined. We've started to onboard the business pilots. We have this kind of promotional campaign to entice more. We're collecting the EOSC requirements for the services and solutions needed. So the survey is available. We're starting to analyze the responses in parallel. We've got about 50 so far, I believe. But we'll be doing like direct engagement with task forces and working groups to continue to get more. But reach out if you have specific needs or ideas already. We've started to establish collaborations agreements, but again, we'll be looking to expand more with the supplier networks and other service providers. And the regional DIH coordinators, as I mentioned, this has only just started, but we are interested in hearing from the EOS community. Who of you are involved already in National Digital Innovation Hub so that we can kind of discuss opportunities, and then we'll ramp up industry participation and event participation in 2022. So contact us, share the information as possible, and we're looking forward to also the questions that you may have in this session as well. So with that, I will pass back over to Marcin Pulchenik, who will then kind of go into a little bit more of the details of the business pilots, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end.
Yeah.
I see some noises in it, some background noises. If you could please mute, thanks. Okay, so thank you for this introduction. So I will get into more details about the business pilots. So I'm, as was mentioned, responsible in EOS DIH for the coordination of those pilots of whole life cycle. Just to remind, so the business pilots, for us, this is the mutual exchange. So there's no, we don't provide direct funding for the pilots, and this is mainly directed towards startups as SMEs. So our role in this collaboration is to provide technical services across EOSC. So mainly focus on the provision of the resources together with our partners for the testing purposes, so the pre-commercial ones. And so we offer the expertise and support. So this concern, for example, architecture, definition, choice of the given scenarios. So we help and promote results and that are out of this collaboration, and we also have the periodic campaigns to onboard new pilots. So for the commercial partners, so they can validate usefulness of the EOSC services that are among the offered through EOS DIH to them. So they co-create new products and services in the sense that they partnership with us on developing their new solutions, and basically they can use data or services to build some new innovative solutions on top. So it's already mentioned by Sai, and there are 4 pilots that have been onboarded already in EOSC Future project, and that These are coming from different collaborations, and I will go in a moment more in details through each of those pilots to just to say a few words about that. I would just would like to remind that that we had already some number of previous pilots and success stories, and these were coming from different sectors. So as you see, we are more or less sector agnostic. So these were coming from finance, furniture, agriculture, sports, manufacturing, health. So really space number of different sectors. And each of the pilot had also the different specifics. So so far in the past, we had conducted and supported around 18 different pilots. So so the results had been captured of these pilots in 2 editions of the business pilots success stories publication. And we will continue as soon as we'll finish next wave of the pilots. We will continue with such publication also further on. So about this new business pilot, so one of them is the DigiFarm. So these were coming actually from contact from one of our 8-1 partner. And so we provide support to this also in collaboration with the EGIAs that will be the service provider. So the DigiFarm, they are the Norwegian based startup. And so they are focusing on detecting the field boundaries. So this is about one thing is to power precision agriculture using AI. Another point is to provide a number of the decision points for national agencies and kind of validation for national agencies, agricultural agencies. So this pilot specifically will develop and model a training deep neural network model for detection of this entire countrysides. And so this will concerns most probably Germany, Austria, and Belgium and the UK. So this will use the EOS infrastructure. And also during the project lifetime, they will evaluate some of the available EOS technologies towards further usage in their services. So another pilot was coming to us through the EGIA's project. So the company itself is this is the Agila Center R&D, and they have developed Trango. So this is the service that initially have been developed under the ArcticConf project. So the main objective of this use case is to create AI-driven mobile app that mix car sharing and carpooling models. And basically, this is about machine learning algorithm, and that will be further developed. So this pilot will include following technical aspects like creation of a driven mobile app. Also, a demonstration that this machine learning model is able to predict in advance enough occurrence. They are saying about 85%. So they are making use of the EOS services, and from our perspective, we provide them visibility, marketing, and help with commercialization planning. So there are important aspects in the whole life cycle of such pilot. So it's not only technical aspect, but also those related to dissemination, marketing, and commercialization. So the next one, this is the example, like I said before, that came from partnership to a pilot. And so they have developed an open source engine of Mikado. And the Mikado basically extends the default functionalities of the state-of-art technologies like the basically like the Kubernetes, and it automates deployment, scaling, management, and monitoring on microservices in number multiply cloud interfaces. And basically, in terms of this pilot, so it will include development integration of cloud resource adapter for EGI and EOSC resources, and also establishing a European alternative to some. So that's kind of their ambition to establish European alternative to solutions of the market leaders, and. And this is about also provisional example operating in production environment for demonstration purposes. So users could really validate and go more deep inside the Mikado. So okay, and there is another pilot. This is a kind of continuation after the previous project. So basically, the pilot is about the chain logistic optimizations, and they are here. We are combining the services and resources from different initiatives. This was initially provided by the Deep Hybrid Data Cloud project. Also, there are a number of technologies that are involved and support. And we are trying basically to come with them with both solutions, software solutions, expertise in terms of data management, storage and access to HPC for machine learning, and support also the process of testing and validating. So if I would summarize the characteristic of the business pilot so far. Basically, the initial pilots that we have helped us basically to define the whole way of operation. So with the next pilots, after the first 5-6 pilots, we focus on diversifying. So not only providing the resources in IaaS model, but also the next further our pilots are mixed really the computing storage support, but also providing the technological expertise, co-design the services, co-develop those services in collaboration with other projects. So it's also evaluation of usability of some of your services and providing feedback. And just to give a kind of overview of the main so far requested expertise, this is mainly in the area of AI, security, AII, and big data technologies. And there were also few requests coming from domain specific like geo and agri. And these were related both with the products itself, but also with the data sets. So we have a number of the support channels. So there are mentioning already communication channel for the life cycle of the business pilots. So we have the Trello board, status meetings, Slack workspace, also number of technical meetings with requested experts in given expertise that are from whole EOS, I think from different EOS partners. We also communicate through website where we have the forum, and so for the community meetings, this provides the networking, and we also provide kind of innovation workshops. Thanks to such forums, there was several collaborations that had happened between different companies. So we provide also information, but also organize different webinars, and these are specifically in the marketing, exploitation, IPR, technology transfer models, and where we collaborate with a number of other projects that are focused on those aspects also. So we participate in event and where we promote the success stories, and also, as I mentioned before, publish success stories. So how to get involved with us? So basically, there is expression of interest that I mentioned in the moment. You can join our community through the Slack channel. You could, there is a lot of information through the web page. And also basically we are very open to collaborate with other projects. As mentioned, we are already being exploitation channel of some other one of exploitation channel of other EOS projects. And so with each of the project we define long-term collaboration agreements and where we define scope and activities for both of us. So about the expression of interest, so our objective is to onboard the business pilots developing innovative, the businesses developing innovative solutions, and that could make use of EOS technology and services, and would like to help them bringing those products to the market. So we are looking for several areas like the Industry 4.0, health, energy, agriculture, Earth observation, and others. So just to give an example, like it could be like reuse of research data to create some new products, usage of some AI algorithm for prediction, optimization of some products, and for example, some data analytics, image recognitions, or usage of some data technologies in their products. So so we are for that we are collaborating with for the technical services and resources. We're collaborating with these prestigious ongoing projects from 07 code. There are DICE, EGAs, and OpenAir Nexus. So there are a number of the services that are provided and guaranteed for this expression of interest. And we are also negotiating some other further services. So what actually will pilots receive? So the access to infrastructure, where they could prototype, scale up. So this is about building partnerships with other SMEs and stakeholders and clusters, and they can receive from us business coaching, and we would like to boost visibility at different levels. And okay, so basically, just briefly to show the timeline that the deadline is the 3rd again, and we expect to go some of the pilots to go 3 to 8 months for this expression of interest. Okay, so we'll have this webinar already mentioned by Sai, that is 25th at 4. So you could join through join us. And just to remind our partners, and yeah, basically that's it. Thank you for your attention.
So then we'll take some questions. Martin, if you stop sharing your screen, I'll show the Slido session. I think for now we only have one question in Slido. Someone has asked what uses of the EOS infrastructure means in the context of the DIH pilots, and whether you can illustrate the type of resources, whether it's services or data that are commonly accessed and reused. I don't know whether you want to take that, Sai or Martin?
I can take the first part and then I'll maybe let Martin take the second part. So I think the first part is, yeah, so if you're inside of the EOS, you could ask yourself, what does the EOS infrastructure mean in terms of it? Because it's like, is it like one coherent thing? But I think what you need to think about, the way this is seen from external, is people are accessing the EOS infrastructure, which just basically means the technical resources that are being provided to them. And these can go from the different infrastructure providers that are participating in the EOSC. So whether it's like DICE or AGI ACE or C-Scale or whatever. I mean, these are individual providers, but from the external people, they see this as just kind of accessing the EOSC infrastructure. So it's more of a generic term rather than meaning something specifically concrete. So that would be my explanation for that. And then maybe Marcin, you can give a few examples of the services and also the data. We have an example of the data reuse as well.
Okay, I would say from our experience from the past, there are several aspects of the services that they would like to validate and try out. So this is, for example, there is a service from the marketplace like Deep as a service, where they are trying out the service and the infrastructure behind to train, for example, the AI models. And so there are also basically requests around integrating with the AI. So that's one of the common requests. So there are, for example, requests about some help in reaching the EOSC partners to deliver to have access to data for validation of the algorithms. For example, there was a specific request about in situ agriculture data from the farms, where we were able to partnership with a few of the partners and universities, where through construction of agreements, they were provided with this in situ data for validation purposes. So this was free for them for validation purposes. And if for pre-commercial, if they wanted to use it commercially, they would need to have some separate further agreement. So I hope that's the example that illustrate what kind of services it is. So in other scenario, there was the data management service used. This was one data was the service was validated for one of the service as a data management solution. Yeah, if you want to know more, maybe you can ask another question here on the Slido, and I can give more examples.
Yeah, so another question just came in. Someone asked whether institutional privacy is desired to take part in the DIH business pilots. Don't know who wants to take that. Maybe you, Sai?
Yeah, unfortunately, I might answer this with a question, because I might need a little bit more detail in terms of what does that mean in practice, institutional privacy.
Yes, I mean, if the person who asked this doesn't mind unmuting themselves, they can, I think, just ask the question in person. Or do they prefer to remain anonymous? Then you can also just type an extra question into Slido, then we'll see it as well. In the meantime, maybe a question that I had is, you've done business pilots like this before. Can you give an example of one that you considered to have been a real success, and what a business got out of that? Sort of the model example of a best practice for this. Maybe you, Marcin? Yes.
So there was one. I mean, there are a few really good examples that we had in the past that actually got. They got some best demonstration prizes or the best pilot prizes during the previous EOSC events. One of these were in the sport area, where basically the company have developed the product related with the analysis of the movements, video analysis of the movement of the players and in different sports. Basically, they were so successful that during the close to the end of the project phase, they were bought by a larger company, and I think that's kind of a success story for them, right? Because through the I think it was not just because of the pilot, but the pilot helped validate and disseminate enough the technology, and they were in these terms very successful. I think that's one of the success story. There were also another company that also bought by larger one.
Can you make it maybe a bit clearer what the pilot worked on exactly then? How did you collaborate? Did they use data to validate their services, or what did they get out of the business pilot?
we help them I think on different stages, so from defining the architecture, from validating of the services. So they mostly they were using their they wanted to use some open source solutions. So we had we made some consultancy which of the services they should use. They were using some of those services deployed on EOSC resources, but please remember this is for validation. And then we help them with two things. One, with dissemination itself. So there was a lot of the events where we presented this use case, and the second one was that also we provided a number of the commercialization workshops where they could learn from our experts how this commercialization process could go on. So as you see, these are not only technical support, and I think most even of the support is with these non-technical aspects. So that's how Sai said that where we collaborate with other projects. So they sometimes focus on this technical support of given service, and then we try it with the whole life cycle. Because if you look at the pilots, I think a lot of the support is about, I would say, more soft support that the business pilots or the companies need to go through it. And also it's not always easy to navigate if you would like to use the services, and even if these are on the marketplace, they are not always easy what actually to choose. If there are a number of similar services, they cannot see from description really what is the impact or of the choice they do, and which might be the best for them. So we need really to guide them, support, and sometimes this is also about the buzzwords that we are using in EOS world. Really, believe me, sometimes they really ask a few times what does it mean, and we really explain in some other words what does it mean.
Yeah, I think as someone who recently joined EOSC, I relate. There's a whole compendium of acronyms and words that no one's ever heard of unless you're working on one of these projects. So it's good that you're there to help businesses find their way around that then. There's no clarification on Slido, or I see no raised hands on the institutional privacy question, but a new question has been added, whether there's any link between the EOSC DIH pilots and other innovation hubs, and some examples that they gave for the Copernicus program, innovation partnerships, and the European data spaces.
So, Sai, should I take it over, or you would like to reply?
It's up to you if you have
Okay.
if you have an answer.
No, I think we are basically as I think was already shown partially by Sai, we are in the ecosystem. So we are from one hand trying to establish as much as possible partnerships. I think now with 13 projects or so. Then with the multiplier networks, so there are several multiplier networks like this DIHnet network and a few others that are the networks of digital innovation hubs. We are, as I said, trying to establish collaboration with the network like in the data area, like the EU hubs EU hubs for data. So that's actually the network of number of digital innovation hubs. And with this new program of the digital innovation hubs to come, the whole large wave of them. So basically, as was said, we're already discussing with few, and we would like to partnership as those hubs. I mean, will be more active, I would say, or will get funding. We believe as being more pan-European one, that we need to. That's our direction. Also, this is our strategy, that we need definitely to collaborate with the regional innovation hub in given given expertise and a domain.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just to add on top of that, we've had, I think, a couple of, let's say, at least one of the previous business pilots in the area of agriculture was basically using the Copernicus data in order to develop the application that they had. And also the new one with DigiFarm is also using the Copernicus data as well. So we do have some links, but many of our current and previous ones were kind of like almost completely outside of our world. And this was like their first experience with it. And I think that's probably a little bit one of the challenges that Marcin was talking about, which is they were just new to the EC world and the public infrastructure world. So it took a lot, which is good because it means that we're not just talking to the same people all the time. We're actually bringing in new people into it, which is positive. But I think probably moving forward, I think like C-Scale project will probably be our, let's say, our collaboration opportunity for going deeper into the Earth observation in the Copernicus program world. So we'd like to rely on our partners who already have access to that work instead of us having to create the relationship completely alone. Yeah, innovation partners, this is a little bit broad. I think this is covered by what Marcin was talking about in terms of other digital innovation hubs or other multiplier networks. I'd just like to touch upon European data spaces before as a final point, which is, yeah, data provider agreement. This is something that we kind of was quite challenging. I don't think we really did in a systematic way within EOSC Hub, which we would like to do in EOSC Future. And I think, which is how do we guarantee the data that companies may need and how to provide them? So I think the European data spaces will be one area that we should kind of tap into in order to augment the services offers that we're able to do to the customers. Having OpenAIRE already inside of it, I think, is definitely one major step forward for us to have kind of the more data related services within our Digital Innovation Hub catalog. We had a couple previously, but it was just through a collaboration agreement. Now OpenAIRE is a formal partner, and you can see that they've specified out their entire service offering, so that helps. But I think the data spaces is going to be an opportunity for us to collaborate in order to augment our data offers. So nothing in place, but I would say definitely a strategic area for us.
Okay, something you mentioned C-Scale. I don't know whether the person asking this question knows this, but because they started by mentioning the Copernicus program, it might be an interesting project to check out maybe, because if I'm right, that's a project that is sort of enabling big data analytics from Copernicus through EOSC and making more of Copernicus accessible through EOSC. So anonymous person who asked the question, because you mentioned Copernicus first, that might be something to look into. Then we have one question that came in that we haven't addressed yet, which is, two, I think. No, one. Let's see, it's a question that I find quite interesting as well, is would you be in a position to help implement new services that a business pilot might need, in addition to consulting on existing ones? Or is that too early in the pipeline for you to do something like that?
In a position to help implementing certain new services if required. Yeah, I mean, so the answer is yes. We run let's say if we use the TRLs as a benchmark, we do run, we're kind of open to the different TRL levels. So maybe somebody's coming with just a new idea that they want to develop and prototype it. That would be okay. We have some that come to us, which is kind of already in the prototype phase, and they would like to prove out that it could be scaled. And then we have others that are just kind of like, they're at the final bit. They may want some, let's say, early adopters of the service that they have. So they want to kind of have a push over the last mile. And I think that's probably the examples that Marcin was giving, where we had a couple pilots that were kind of towards the end doing the last mile. They proved out their solution and service and then ended up getting bought by a major company. But we're also open to people to come with potential new ideas that they would just purely like to prototype. So I think the answer to that question is yes, there's definite space in the Digital Innovation Hub to do early TRL level style work.
I don't know whether you want to add anything, Marcin. If not, there's two other questions that came in that I think we still have time for, which are both related, I think, more to the connection of EOSC with industry and businesses. One asks whether, says it would be great if research infrastructures had a better understanding of the specific needs that industry has, especially when it comes to machine learning and language processing. And I think, Sai, that's something you can talk more about.
Yeah, I think this is a definite yes. Because I think it was kind of like one of the bullet points that I tried to touch on in terms of the value for the EOSC, which is working with industry, is really what are they looking for? And if you have a similar service, maybe it's not exactly what they need, but then you find out what they do need, and you can use that as an opportunity to kind of say, okay, maybe we could add this functionality to increase the usefulness, or maybe it's not done in a way. And actually, if we would change this from a suggestion from an industry partner, maybe we could get better usage of it. So I think there's a real opportunity with getting industry to not just use the service, but potentially just provide you with requirements for what they would find useful. And that overall builds up and improves our own services over time. And I think usability is definitely an area of improvement that I think we can do across the research and academic space. And like I said, trying to develop or improve the service in which industry finds it useful, I think is going to end up being beneficial for everyone, including individual researchers and individual research communities, because those benefits then kind of then start to apply to everyone. So definitely yes to that question.
Sai, to be practical, also because there are people asking those questions and they are here during our session. So just I kindly invite to keep touch with us. Just send us an email so we could keep you posted directly and give you direct requirements that we already collected as well. And I think if you could make this link with us and join our or even join our community, our Slack, that's really one of the rapid channel that we could really pass number of the points besides feedback that is more generic, but we could really get in touch. So there are a number of these channels. And if I can also reply to the next question, if I'm speaking about the limited time that is limited. Yes, the time is limited because this is for validation purposes, for test purposes, for pre-commercial. So what we provide, this is not for production. For production, it's also we make this contact with the providers to establish commercial. Some of the providers can establish commercial partnership, but that's a different kind of rules, right? Then, because that's what it's not for validation, it's for production usage. So basically, this is other business model, I would say. So this is certainly the way, and we already have these examples where after the pilot lifetime, there were some pre-commercial agreements signed with the providers itself.
Yeah, I would probably separate the two into two separate concepts, which is A pilot itself is basically saying, okay, we want to do X, so we would need Y, and we want to produce Z as a result. So you bundle that inside of, let's say, a time-bound project so that you have a start, middle, and finish to the thing. However, then there is a secondary question in terms of if you need a sustainable service and you would like to enter into a commercial contract with one of the EOSC service providers, this is always going to be a little bit of a individual service provider dependent, because not everyone is able to enter into commercial contracts simply because of the nature of the majority of the institutes that are providing these services via EOSC. However, the Digital Innovation Hub could serve as, let's say, a consultant mechanism to have the discussion to try to figure out what exactly are you looking for, and could we help identify an EOSC service provider that would be able to enter into a more longer running commercial relationship. So yeah, I think there's opportunities in both things, but I would just kind of separate the two, if that's clear.
Yeah, I was also wondering maybe if we don't have time for a follow-up question, but good to follow up on, because you seem to be someone that is already providing services through EOSC. So I'm assuming if you're looking for something that is more sustainable in the long term, others that are already using EOSC probably are as well. So it might also just be a matter of finding the right connections there. And I think as Sai and Martin explained, they do a lot of networking and support services for more long-term business development as well, even if that ends when the pilot or a project ends. Then afterwards, you'll be stronger, I think, to tackle those things by yourselves.
Yeah, so please contact us. It's important because we might help you in establish these long-term collaborations, right? So
I saw that Sai posted the contact address to the chat, which we'll keep open for a little while, but we're going to wrap up here. We'll have another session in about half an hour, and I'm hoping to see all of you there. It's on a different topic, so not as much related to this, but it's on the EOSC Policy Observatory, which policy is not business, but it can have a large impact on it. So I'm hoping to see some of you at least there as well. So have a nice break or have a nice rest of the day, and hoping to see you soon.
And thank you from my side, especially for the questions I thought were really, really interesting and good. So I hope to hear from you guys soon. And thanks again, Katrin, for the organization.
You're welcome.
as well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.